With Harry and Meghan set to split from the royal family in just about a month's time, there's word now Ottawa will no longer be footing the bill for their security. A statement released by the Office of the Minister of Public Safety says the couple's choice to relocate to Canada part-time has presented the government with a unique and unprecedented set of circumstances. Though the RCMP has been providing security assistance since they arrived in Canada, the assistance will stop in the coming weeks in keeping with their change in status. So let's bring in CTV Royal commentator Richard Berthelsen. So, Richard, there were a lot of questions about security and costs and how that was all going to work when they decided to come to Canada. Now we're finding out they're not going to do it. Is this all in keeping with protocol, even though this is an unprecedented situation?
Well, it really isn't a protocol decision per se. I think, the couple having made a very conclusive statement last Friday, and it's very clear that, this next week is the last of their official royal engagements. They're in a very unusual and unique status. And if they're really not going to be performing a public function, if they're not working members of the royal family, if we can't expect to see them on official visits in this country in their position that way, there really isn't a compelling reason for the government to continue to provide security. I mean, security is being treated by some as if it's some great privilege and it's some kind of perk. I mean, in reality, it's pretty kind of onerous on some of the recipients of it. That said, there is a bit of a risk in the case of this couple, particularly as they have a young child. But this announcement today is making it clear their security outside the royal family is their responsibility.
And Richard, when we talk about security, and yes, would be considered a burden by some to be constantly under watch, what are we talking about in terms of their living their daily lives and what security they have?
Well, I think their security begins when they arrive at a Canadian airport, and we've seen that clearly when they've been getting off aircrafts. There's cars right at the foot of the steps, and that doesn't happen without the RCMP being involved, and they're being whisked through security and customs and all the rest of it. And of course, they're providing site security at the location where they are. And if Archie has been left there as they've been traveling to either the UK or the United States, obviously there's been security on site, and there's been some security driving them around. They are at a bit of a risk in some of those circumstances, and the government doesn't want anything to happen to them on Canadian soil. I think that the ongoing issue remains that Harry remains sixth in line to the throne. Effectively, he's third in line because three of the people ahead of him are very young children. So he is a bit of a risk, and with his past fighting in Afghanistan and things like that, there are some issues. But I think the government of Canada is clearly pushing this issue over to them. If they want to be private citizens in that sense, they're going to have to provide security, or the British government is now going to have to make a decision as to whether or not they're going to send people here at huge cost.
And one of the reasons behind the decision, as has been stated by the Prince, is that they want to get away from all of that, public attention and interest, which has been so troubling, for both of them, Harry his whole life and Meghan since she became involved with him. Do you think that might happen? Is there a good chance that could be the result of all of this?
I really don't. I think that, to be honest, the route they've chosen may actually do exactly the opposite of what they've really set out to do. I think that security, in fact, provides them sometimes with a degree of privacy and a degree of, being people just whisking you away from situations is a very different situation than when you're just on your own. And I think also the media interest is not going to really cease for a while, just because this is so unusual what they've chosen to do with their roles. And so every part of it is going to be parsed and examined for appropriateness for many, many years to come.
Richard Berthelsen, thank you very much.
Pleasure.